And like Rebecca, I focus on federal customers and pretty much the app space, right? Collaborative apps. How do you live and breathe in teams and be more productive?
Wait.
I think the other John might be on another call. Oh, there he is.
Good. I'm John Unterseer. I'm another senior CE. So I focus down on Power Apps, Power Platform at the moment for the O365 delivery teams here. So nice to meet y'all.
Two of my favorite
And
John.
Josh, we also got Aaron on the call again. So
Aaron Bart. Oh yeah, Aaron he's a sneaky ninja. He's really good at what he does as well. He's a bots fanatic. And so a lot of help here, a lot of Microsoft on the call. So with that, let's jump into the content. Yeah. Well, actually, we got one more thing to talk about real quick. The agenda. So what we're going to talk about here is what exactly are bots, what they can do. We'll go then to how can bots evolve and automate your agency's operations. So specifically, what are those capabilities? What are your options for leveraging bots in your organization? We got folks across the spectrum on this call. So GCC High, DoD. We want to make sure that you know exactly what route to go if, in fact, you find any of this stuff appetizing, right? Fourth, excuse me. How are other organizations using bots today? So we got stories to tell without disclosing exactly which organization is what. We can tell you about how people are actually using this stuff today. You're not the first, you're not the last. People are doing this already. And then finally, we get into some demo stuff. This is not death by PowerPoint. Even though I love PowerPoint, I like to get into the clicks. So we're going to go through two options you have to leverage bots. One's Power Virtual Agents. We might call it PVA, just for short. We love acronyms here at Microsoft. And then the other one is FAQ Plus Bot, which uses something called the bot framework. Less important that you know that, more important that you know there's two routes to go. And finally, we'll talk about the back end, what makes your bot smart. We'll go into some Q&A, and we'll just have a good time. And the Q&A may be at the end, but please toss all your thoughts and your comments and your questions into the chat as we go along, because it helps course the conversation. Again, this is a conversation, not just a presentation. Cool? Nice go. With that, I just want to tee you up for who we are, because I think a lot of you guys signed on or signed up for this. And you're like, who is TAAG? They misspelled it. How did they get this job? TAAG stands for Teams App Acceleration for Government. Yep, just for Gov. And we do three things, and we do them well, I'd like to say. We discover opportunities to automate, to modernize, to make your business better in federal, right? Specifically. We develop against those needs. We have phenomenal brainiacs on our team, far smarter than I'll ever be, far sharper than I'll ever be, that will do these things, right? And then we have deployment. So we help you deploy from a security and governance perspective. And whatever nuanced situation you're in, we love to attack those situations and help you get to the finish line. So that's what we do. And guess what? There's no charge to that, right? There's no charge to that. And so we do this to find awesome success stories and make your life better, right? So that's TAAG. And at the end of this, just to tee you up, we have a survey that goes out. Now, the survey says, how'd you like the presentation, all that jazz. But at the very top, we ask, do you want us to follow up with you to see if there's an opportunity to help implement some of the stuff that you see here? Now, remember, it's free of charge. We come in, see if there's something that we can execute on, and you have the full force of the brainiacs at Microsoft to help you out. It's pretty sweet, right? So keep in mind, the survey comes at the end. Please fill it out if you want us to help you out with any of the stuff you see today. With that, let's actually jump into the content, okay? So we're going to do this sort of Q&A style, maybe late night show, or maybe Oprah Winfrey, take your pick. But me and Rebecca are going to bounce back. But Rebecca, real quick, if we had to define for the folks what a bot is, what would you say?
it's basically just it's a nice little application that can help us help our customers answer questions. And helps us answer questions that our customers may have to kind of be that interface before they get to us live.
Yeah. And I love that you said before we get into live. And kind of with that, it's if you look at the top blurb, I define it as a bot as an app that runs simple and repetitive tasks, right? Things that you'd rather not do for end users. Think Siri, Cortana, Alexa. Sorry if I said off somebody's Alexa, right? That's what a bot is. And to kind of put a wrapper around it to make it simple, bots do one of three things. They either do things, right? They go and execute on something when you give it a command. They either know things, so they'll have information at a moment's notice around something that's in your ecosystem, or they go and retrieve things, maybe in a service ticketing sort of situation. So where is this in process, right? They'll retrieve information and put and surface it, right? So they do things for you. They automatically know things. Think HR, maybe you upload a document and make into the bot, and now that document as the bot's brain, so to speak, right? And it knows the answers to commonly asked questions. And of course, again, it gets things, it can retrieve information. Those are the three things that bots do. And that's actually three things that every Siri, Cortana, or Alexa does as well, right? Pretty slick. By a show of ones, how many folks are brand new to bots? Not, and when I say brand new, you know about it, but you're not too familiar with it. You're not too familiar with the functionalities. You're not implementing. You got David Bump. That's a cool last name. Chris. Melissa says she's brand new as well. John Bolander. Joseph. That's another one of my brother's names. Matt. Cool. Jesse. Okay. Brand new. Cool. And if you're not brand new, I think you still can pick up some cool stuff. All right. Just wondering. Now, next question. What kinds of tasks can bots automate?
Help desk. What?
Yeah. Help desk, help desk one. Help desk is definitely one. And without what kind of bleed into what we're going to talk about as far as the use cases, there's a customer out there, huge customer, big, very big customer, that actually uses help desk and then specifically HR sort of help desk questions. So they had this 96-page document that they put into the bot, which is pretty cool. They took a pre-existing asset and used it to make the bot smarter. And now that bot had all those questions and answers that were in there as queries. And so when someone asks a question to this HR bot, it then scours that document, pulls the answer, and it saves a help desk call or saves the email to HR. Pretty cool. And so what happens, kind of a benefit, right? I'm getting ahead of myself, but I think it's kind of pertinent now. Support and help desk are resources that are usually retroactive or reactive, excuse me. They're reactive. If they have more time to be proactive, you can better build your environment. Things like bots work to automate and just streamline a lot of these things that humans would have to do otherwise, right? So they have a nice conversational interface, right? It's a conversational interface, much like you would have with Siri or Cortana, but it's textual, so you text it to it, although there are options to actually do voice. And then that allows a very natural one-on-one engagement to where people can get things done conversationally in teams. And everything we're talking about is in teams, okay? And you're going to see this in the demo. Anything you want to add to that, Rebecca?
No, I think you covered it.
Sweet sauce. Next, boom. What are your options for leveraging bots and teams today? And we're going to go over this here in a second. But what are your options?
They can be side-loaded. They can be pinned into teams. I mean, we can put them on a SharePoint site. Well, you said it teams. Yeah. Okay. So they can be side-loaded. They can be pinned in teams. There's actually a button that you can push to have it go to teams as well. So,
yeah. And you guys are going to... Oh, go ahead.
Go ahead.
That's all good. And you guys are going to see this in a little bit. So like Rebecca says, it can be pinned to the left-hand rail, which is where we say they should definitely go. That way, you know, in sight, in mind, as opposed to out of sight, out of mind. People can get to it and they can use it. But there's two options. We'll go over it here in a second. As far as pathways, one is Power Virtual Agents. One is FAQ or Bot Framework. One's a little more customizable. One's kind of the easy button. But it's just going to depend on where you want to go with it. Neither is better or worse per se. But where you want to go with it, and also just what your model looks like, what your agency looks like. So we'll get into that here in a second. But you can put a bot most anywhere, right? Web page, SharePoint, in Teams, but in Teams is the best option. And then finally, as far as how some agencies are using bots today, we kind of talked about with what agency is doing. We have an agency in the financial space. I can say it without saying the name. They are using it for so I said bots do things and they can retrieve information as well. So there's a decision tree component to a lot of what a bot can do. So if this, then that. If this person says they need this, then I give them this route, right? So it's situational. That said, this specific agency, Small but Mighty, uses it for hardware replacements. So what they would usually have to do as far as send an email, send the specifications of the device that this end user has, get information on what happened, and then submit the request and then keep them updated, now takes place in a bot situation, right? And that's really, really cool to say, I need a hardware replacement. What device do I have? Here's the specification and the config. what happened specifically, shoot that off, get sort of a get like sort of a service desk ticket to say, hey, here's the status on where it is. Bada bing, bada boom. A human never truly touches it. It's so well integrated that it goes through to fulfillment, right? So it's very little human touch. I think there's 1 or 2 human touches throughout the entire process. That's how advanced you can make a bot, right? And so that's what some folks are doing. Everything from the HR help desk perspective to the hardware replacement to just basic FAQs, frequently asked questions. You can do all that with it. There was a question yesterday, because we do these once a month, but 2 days a month. There's a question yesterday where someone asked, what's the difference between bots and Power Automate? Well, bots can leverage Power Automates or flows, right? They can be a part of those flows. They can trigger those flows. They can be a sequence in those flows, right? So a flow or a Power Automate is a tool for a bot, and sort of vice versa in some cases, right? So they're not the same thing per se, right? Hopefully that makes somewhat sense. Any questions so far, folks? Cool beans. All right, we're getting close to the demo actually. Boom. Just to make sure you kind of understood what we're talking about as far as your 2 routes, we want to make this crystal clear. So here's a slide. Your options for leveraging bots in Microsoft Teams are twofold. So Power Virtual Agents. Let's go over this for a second. For one, it's available in GCC and GCC High. Okay. As far as what it offers, intelligent virtual agents. So you're going to get a bot that does a whole bunch of stuff, right? And the interface is going to look the exact same when you go between these 2. Easy query management. So adding knowledge to your bot. Someone asks what's Josh's favorite color, you immediately say burning red, right? That's pretty easy on here as well. Simplified admin interface. I'm talking about is Josh proof, okay? Very, very simple to admin this bot. Okay, that's a plus side to Power Virtual Agents. And then low code, no code, like the rest of the Power Platform, Power Automate, Power BI, Power Apps. It doesn't take a whole lot of, you don't have to be a brainiac to really make it work, right? That's a plus, okay? And then also this is a licensing cost though, right? So it varies, and we can talk more about that with your specific account teams, but that's how this model works. And there's folks that enjoy this model, they're using it today in your space. We jump over here to bot framework. First, the first 2 bullets are the same. Intelligent virtual agents, the same as you'll see over there. Easy query management, super simple. It's a different backend, but it's just as easy to add queries, right? And then the third, coding will be involved in bot framework. However, look at this line. It says, unless app template is used, in which case you can add on to the code. But do you guys know what an app template is? This is something that the same folks that make Teams make, right? So they made this as sort of a solution accelerator to get you on your feet. So there's something called the FAQ plus bot. You're going to see it today right after this slide, okay? That is going to put you into the bot framework super quick, and you can begin having a full-on experience without having to code or do anything, right? So even though you're using bot framework, it's kind of ready, set, go, and it's packaged. It goes into every environment just fine. Now, this is available only in GCC as far as I'm concerned. If I'm wrong, Aaron Barth, please sound off. But this is available only in GCC. It hasn't hit the channel, so to speak, or the ability to drop a bot into Teams does not exist in DoD and GCC High right now. Okay. And then this comes at an Azure cost, which actually could be a better cost model for you. So we can talk more about the bits and bytes and what it looks like to run these things on the back end when you reach out to us, but that's sort of the nuts and bolts. Questions on how that works? Sweet, I don't see anybody typing. Go ahead.
No, but one thing to add, right, is if your cloud isn't supported, there are some workarounds. So if you have a DoD cloud, you could embed your bot into a SharePoint page and then pin that SharePoint page. It doesn't have the full integration points, but it is still a bot that you could leverage to use, right? You won't get the notifications when someone messages you through the bot or anything like that, but there are some workarounds if you need.
Thanks for adding that. John Scott added that yesterday too. Yep. I see. Melissa, what'd you say? Do you have a link to licensing costs? Yes and no. Now, so Melissa, there is a page on Docs that will give you a breakdown of what a Power Virtual Agent may cost. Every specific, and then it'll come with a big asterisk that says this is not a cost estimate, because legally we can't say that, because every agency has its own pricing agreements, right? It may be $1 or $2 off or some small percent off, but we won't lie to you about, we won't say it costs $2 when it's $150, right? So that's the only thing we can say. So I don't have a link on me right now. I know it does exist. There's a follow on if you reach out in that survey and we come to you, we can make sure we take care of that. You guys have on your account teams, you have your specialists, we call them, and they will have a much more intimate knowledge of these services on the back end, and they'll spit out a number for you. Even real time, they can run a calculator and tell you what you'd be paying in a virtualized scenario, right? If I have 1,000 people and I'm running 1,000 sessions or whatever the case may be. So keep that in mind. Sweet, good question. Keep asking them. And with that, guess what, folks? You're kind of done with PowerPoint. All right, let's jump into some click it and get started demos. So I think, oh, Aaron says correct bot framework teams channel for GCC High is not available. Yes. Awesome. Thank you, Aaron. But with that, I'm going to pass the mic and we're going to give it to Rebecca, who's going to go over Power Virtual Agents. Then she's going to swing the thing back my way. Going to jump into FAQ plus bots. So here comes the fun part of this whole thing, guys. And keep asking questions. I'll be monitored in the chat.
Oh, it's my turn. Alrighty.
Yeah.
All right.
The floor is yours.
Almost hit leave instead of share.
Oh, no.
All right. So what we're going to do is demo quickly or a little bit on how you can create a bot. So starting out, I like to go to Power Apps and you're going to go to make.gov.powerapps.us. If you're in GCC, GCC High would be, I think it's .high. Don't let me tell that lie. But basically, you're going to go to Power Apps, and on the left-hand side here, you're going to see the word chatbots. So you're going to just click to open up that chatbot. You'll see that I can click to create, or I can also click to list. So you can see if I click list, it's showing me some of the bots that are within this particular environment. So let's go ahead and click create, and let's create a new chatbot. I'm just going to do basic conversational bots. And I'm going to show you how you can easily take content that's already available and use it in a bot. So let's give our bot a name. We'll call him Josh. Joshua is awesome. And then I ask you to select a language. So you have a choice of, I can't remember how many languages total there are right now. I think there's probably about 15-ish or so languages, but you can choose which language you want your bot to speak in. And so I'm going to go with English for now. And then if you have multiple environments within your tenant, you can select which environment you want that bot to go into. So I'm going to go ahead and click create. So what we're going to do is create a bot, and I'm going to use some questions I found on the internet. But you're going to see that you can use websites, you can use documents, so you can use a Word document. Let's say you had an Excel file that you already have some question answer pairs in. So we give you options on how you can easily start off building this bot, okay? So while that starts off, and then while we're at it, let's see, let me find which one of these questions I want to use. I'm just going to pick one of these links that I looked up earlier. And just to show you what it looks like. So this is one about portals. It's an FAQ page on portals. So I am going to use this as my question and answer pairs. Let's see if our bot's finished. Okay. So it's telling me it's still creating that bot. But you're going to notice once the bot creates that we have these built-in topics. So we start you off with some samples essentially on what you can use to see how to build a bot. All right, so now our bot's ready. So remember that link that I just copied? We're going to go here to suggest topics. And when I click suggest topics, it's going to tell me that I can get topic suggestions from the web, from online files like a PDF file, a Word doc, an Excel file. And then I can, it says, you know, maybe only put a few links in there when you're starting off. So we're just going to put in one link. So I just pasted that link. I'm going to click add and it puts it there at the bottom. So I know that one is going to curate that link. And then I'm going to click start. So what it's doing is it's essentially kind of scraping that website that I showed you of this portal stuff. It's essentially scraping that website to see if it can pick up on a question and an answer for that question. Okay. So it says it's going to take a couple of minutes. So while it does that, we can go take a look at another bot that was built. Let's go. Okay, so we got our weather bot. So I created a weather bot yesterday. We might recreate that one a little bit today too, but basically with this bot, how it works is that I created this topic for weather. And when you're creating bots, you have to have a way for your user to actually trigger that bot. So you have to give it some trigger phrases. So these are the trigger phrases that I gave it to start out with. So if my user comes to my bot, and they say just weather. And right now, since I'm testing, I have set the property to track between changes or topics. So you're going to see as we go through, this right-hand side portion here is going to light up. So I'm about to click the button for that trigger phrase, and it says weather. So this is going to start my bot. And then you'll notice here, my next thing on there said, hello, I can help you with all your weather needs. And so it's asking me, okay, what city are you in? Well, I'm going to say I'm in San Antonio. And then it's going to ask me for a zip code. And now what's going to happen is you'll notice as soon as I hit that, you notice this action here. And those of y'all who may be familiar with Power Automate, I have a flow running in the background. As soon as I click this button for the zip code, it's going to run in the background and it's going to give me back this information. Okay. So you can connect your Power Virtual Agents with Power Automate. And so my flow gave back the summary, my location, whether or not it's going to rain, and the weather conditions. And this is the message that it gave back. It returned back from that flow. So today's forecast is going to, for the zip code, is going to be sunny, and chance of rain is, I guess that's supposed to be 29%. So you can create these simple chatbots and also automate some of your processes by having in a flow or a Power Automate to go with it. Okay. So any questions on that?
We got let's pause for a question because I'd rather answer it verbally. So one question popped up. Melissa. Actually, man, Aaron, you're the best. Okay, so Melissa, I love Aaron. So Melissa said, what is the average size of a bot? Just trying to learn if it would be best practice to create from the team's Dataverse or create in a dedicated environment. Does it require the Microsoft Dataverse and premium licensing to create the app? Aaron answered the question, say, great question. What I've seen is that when starting out, you can create a shared sandbox for teams to develop and learn. And then when they are ready to move to production, you can import the solution into a dedicated environment for the production bot. So you can import bots from that sandbox environment into production, Melissa. There was another question by Sean. What's going on, Sean? It says, is there an option after creating a bot to deploy it to the left rail into Teams? And that answer is yes.
We will show you that.
For sure.
Too.
Yeah, for sure. Good question.
Okay. So my topics have come through. It came up with 17 new topics. So let me click here on suggested. And these are the question answer pairs that it was able to pick up from that website. So there were 17 of them. Now, I'm not going to lie to you. Having your user actually type in a trigger phrase of a full question, you might want to add in some additional trigger phrases to this. Okay. And so you can easily do that as well. So I'm just going to pick a couple of these real quick to add over to my bot. And so I can select them and then I can click this add to topics. And so what that's going to do is move it over to our bot so that our bot can use them. Now, one thing you do have to do is you actually have to turn them on. So I'm just going to click the button to turn them on. Now, like I said, okay, so one question asked, how do I get a portal subscription? Okay, your users may not want to You may not want your users to type in that whole question. So you can add in extra trigger phrases. So I'm just going to add in portal subscription as another phrase to trigger this. Okay. And it helps if you click the add button. And I'm going to click save. Do remember to click save every once in a while because we do not want to lose your work. Okay, so we can test this bot out now. So I gave a trigger phrase or portal subscription. Let me try typing. And then when you're testing, we can also click to track between changes. So if we wanted to actually see this run, we can click that. So let's do that. What did I say? Portal subscriptions. And even with my bad spelling, it still picked up that I was talking about portal subscriptions. And so it gave me back the answer, and it's the same answer from the website, somewhere in here. Right here. How do I get a portal subscription? And it says Power App portals are now available as standalone, yada, yada. So same thing. Power App portals are now available as standalone. And then I can click this link and it will take me over to that web page. Okay. Now you'll notice at the end here, it also put in for us what we call the in conversation. So you can use this built-in in conversation to ask your user, hey, did this help? And I can say yes. And then it automatically asks you to rate your experience. So I'm going to go with the 5. And then it says, thanks for your feedback. Can I help you with anything else? And I'm going to click no. So in the span of about 5 minutes-ish or so, we'll just go with that, we were able to create this nice little bot with little work. So any questions on that real quick?
Taking a look right now, Rebecca.
Okay.
And in addition to PVA, per license includes premium. They were talking about what it costs, and then I believe that Aaron answered the question, so we're good to go.
Okay. So the question was asked about how do we get this over to Teams? Okay. So I'm going to click publish just because I want to make sure everything's published. And then you're going to notice a couple of things over here. We have this section that says optimize your bot, and you'll notice we have the Teams icon. We got Slack, we got Facebook, we got all kind of goodies. Now, one thing before I go to that, notice here also that you have this option of a demo website. So if I click demo website, and you can give this link to your users to test out for you, you can come here and test out your bot. And so I started it with portal subscription. It still gave me my answer. I can say yes, right, no thanks. And so your users can test out your bot in this nice little demo website. Now, if you want to publish it to Teams or other locations, these are your options at the moment. So you can do Teams and the demo website, custom websites. It was mentioned earlier about putting it into SharePoint. In SharePoint, you're going to have to do it a little bit differently, but it's doable to put straight to SharePoint as well. But we want to go ahead and do the Teams. So we have a couple of different ways we can get it into Teams. If you're like me and you don't like to wait for stuff, I will download this and sideload it into Teams. Now, this is one option. Your other option is that you can submit it for admin approval. That means that when your users go into Teams and they look under apps and they look under built by, what is it, built by your org? And I'll show you that in a second. This is where that app, the bot or app would show up, okay? And so I'm going to say, I'm going to be nice. So when you click submit for approval, your admins, Teams administrators, will see your bot and then they can approve it or not. If they don't want it to be shown, then they won't approve it. Another option is I can download it. So I'm going to click on download. And what it's going to give me is a nice little zip file. Okay. So I have this zip file here. So what I am going to do is go over to Teams. Let me go to Teams. And then you'll notice on Teams, you can go to Apps. And you'll see this listing here built for your organization. But what I'm going to do is sideload that zip file. So I can click on Manage Your Apps right here. I'm going to click on Upload a Custom App. And I'm going to take that zip file and open. And it lets me know some information. And then I'm going to click Add. So what that's going to do is it's going to add your bot here on the left-hand rail, and I can right-click and say to pin it. And so now it's pinned there for my use. And then now I have my bot working.
Awesome, yeah. And with that, guys, you can also pin it for the organization. If we were to push this as an application, which is no problem, we can get to the nuts and bolts of what that looks like. But if we were to push it as an application, we can pin it to the side rail for everybody.
Yeah, so real quick, he's talking about, so remember earlier, I also pushed it to my admins for my admins to approve. So the admins would come here real quick and find that app. Notice it's blocked right now. And so they would click on it and click publish. And so as it says, it can take a few hours for it to update. But now, or eventually once it shows up, your users will be able to come to apps and they can come to this built by your org and it'll eventually show up here as well. Okay, so we showed you just a quick demo on how you can build out an app and push it to Teams using some curated data that was already available. And I guess that's about it for my demo. Any questions?
Let me see.
Oh, I see one. So, okay, so Melissa, when I'm talking about the admins, no, I'm talking about the Teams administrators. So those guys in your organization who handle your Microsoft Teams.
At the tenant level?
Yes.
Okay.
And then there was a question, is there anything you need to do to secure your app? That's a good question. As far as securing your app, there's tons of stuff that we can do just to keep it light and not cut into a little bit of the time they're going to have for the demo. From the Teams admin, there's two policies. There's permission policy, there's setup policy. Permission policy is who has access to the application. You can take a security group, a distribution list, any grouping you see across Office 365, including M365 groups, so formerly Office 365 groups. You can take those groupings of people and drop them into a permission policy, separate and apart from your default global policy, which is the bag that everyone is in by default. And so maybe these people are the only people that have access to this app, right? That's permission. And then the setup policy, to keep it really simple, is just what your left-hand rail looks like on Teams, where you see activity, chat, Teams, calendar, calls, all that. You can say what is exposed readily to what population of people. So again, you have your global setup policy, which everybody is in by default. And then you can set up your secondary policy. It could be, in this case, the bot policy. A lot of times we see people expose the bot to everyone, but if you so choose, you can expose it to a subpopulation, again, based on those legacy groupings of people. So it could be, again, distribution list, security group, all that jazz. That's no problem. Pretty simple stuff, actually. And we can talk more about it if you guys reach out to us and you want us to follow up. And we take you through all that governance and security as we launch these applications. Good question.
Yeah, let me interject real quick,
Yeah,
Josh.
right.
Yeah, so one thing I do see customers do is maybe create a pilot group to make sure that the questions and answers are relevant, that they are getting the answers back that they're looking for. And then you could do that through those policies also, right? Hey, open this up to 5% of the organization population, make sure everything's working, and then open it up to everybody, right? Something we can do.
100%. That's a really good call. And that's something that, yeah, I see. Yeah, okay. I'm just looking at things come through the chat. But yeah, 100%. Keep adding value like that, John Scott. Love it. All right, so I'm going to show my screen now. Yeah, give me a sec. All right, here we go. So real quick, just to show you what you're looking at and where we are, we just went through and showed Power Virtual Agents. That's available in GCC and GCC High, right? For those folks that are in GC that want to take this route, this is the bot framework solution, and it's built on the FAQ Plus app template, right? A boxed, already made solution that you can deploy in your environment today, no problem. And it's on version 4 too, so we're constantly keeping it updated. So check this out. Follow my big blue cursor. There's a lot of stuff going on, but if you follow my cursor, you won't lose. Okay. So here we are on the Teams tenant. This is GCC, right? Everything you see here is things that you can do. Now, my wonderful partner in crime, John Scott, named our bot Jarvis, kind of Tony Stark-ish, right? Iron Man, that's cool. 10 points for that. If you like Iron Man, put an I in the chat for Iron Man. There we go. If you want to put an Iron Man GIF, you can do that too. But this bot is named Jarvis, right? You can name whatever you want. It's pinned to the left-hand rail because that's where it's most accessible. Boom, I see Donna loves Iron Man. Let's go, right? Yep, we got more people. Sherilyn, what's going on? Oh, John, not to share. Here we go. So check this out. This is a conversational interface. You kind of saw what you get as far as a bot with Rebecca's demo. So I'm not going to rehash this per se, but if you want to see exactly what it looks like integrated into Teams, this is it. Now, the cool thing about this app template is it's built on FAQs, frequently asked questions, and it's pretty easy. And it has the support model to it as well. So if we can't get the bot to understand something, we can push it to a person and then update that bot database, that knowledge base is what it's called, on the back end. Make your bot's brain smarter is what that is. That's your knowledge base, is your bot's brain. Okay, so let's walk through what it looks like from an end user journey. So I'm in Teams, I'm having an issue, and something crossed my mind. I saw this thing called TAAG, and I have no idea what it is. So I need to ask what it is. So I come down to Jarvis, click it, and there's this little conversational interface, and I'll just say, what is TAAG, right? Boom, and we'll go right in here. Boom. What is TAAG? It's going to do is beep, bop, boop, beep situation, and it's going to pop back with an answer. Now, the answer should be the greatest thing of all time, aside from hot sauce, but instead it gives us an intelligent answer where it says Teams App Acceleration for Government, yada, yada, right? Now, you see beneath here, beneath the description, it gives us some options. If, in fact, that was the wrong question or the wrong answer, it should have said the greatest thing of all time. I'm just playing. Then we can ask an expert for a better answer. And this is going to shoot it to who would be someone on your help desk team, right? And you can designate those people. Right now, I'm showing you the end user journey. There's an admin side too that we're going to touch here in a second, right? So just keep that in mind. Or if you didn't like the answer that you got all up, you can share feedback. That's a really good way to make sure your bot is on track, right? And so those are really two very key components in this model, right? So that's pretty cool. You can also have this in PVA, Power Virtual Agents, but this comes out of the box with these buttons. Now let's ask it something else. So let's get let's get kind of nuts and bolts with something you might ask. So last year we had a customer that was moving out of CVR, right? So CVR was this environment that we had set up for COVID, and it was a rush to get people in a space where they could actually do work, okay, remotely. Well, they had to be migrated out of CVR at some point. And so what does that mean? That's a lot of files. And so maybe there's a lot of protocols, a lot of questions that you know you're going to ask, and you've proactively got ahead of that in form of documents, whatever the case may be. Now, Rebecca already showed you can upload a document, make your bot smart, or you can upload a web page, a SharePoint page. It'll scrape that content for questions and answers, and all of a sudden your bot knows all, right? Well, what if you did that and you had questions around when will my mailbox be migrated, right? So that could be something that you want to get ahead of if you're making a big move as far as change management or technical things. So right now we're going to ask, when will my mailbox be migrated? Something that you would get 1,000,000 times during a big move or shift. It says Central IT will start moving mailboxes this summer. For exact schedule, reach out to your local IT coordinator. And if I wanted to, I could even put a link here that they could go and read more. Or I can even have a little graphic here. So if you want to have just a little picture showing them what that looks like, right? Pretty cool what you can do to this. Right now, we're just using text. But it's kind of slick, right? Now, let's ask it something it does not know, okay? Let's do, what doesn't it know? What doesn't it know? What doesn't it know?
What's Rebecca's favorite hobby?
All right. Oh, snap. I said, what's Josh's secret talent? It knew. Moonwalking. I actually put that in yesterday. What is Rebecca's? I'm going to misspell your name. Oh my gosh. That's it. Favorite hobby. Bam. Now this bot will not know. I don't know you personally. That's actually pretty funny. You can also give your bot a little bit of personality with something called chit chat, but we'll leave that as it is. It doesn't know it. So what's the option now? We can ask an expert. So this card pops up where we give some detail around our questions. So description of the question, we can give a title to it. I'm just going to copy and paste that. Okay. And I can add more detail as to what I'm asking. And I'll shoot it off to an expert. It's going to give me a quick receipt. It's going to say, hey, I've shared your question with the team. An expert will reach out to you personally in a separate chat. That's going to go through the one-on-one chat. So check this out. You can see the status of your sort of ticket. It's unassigned, the title of it, the big description around it, and then when it was created. But where does that all go? Follow my big blue cursor. If you look in the top left-hand corner in the chat, I get a little notifications. And so I'm not going to worry about this now. Actually, I'm going to go to Teams. If I go here, it says Jarvis Experts, right? Your FAQ bot experts team. These are people that you've designated as sort of tier whatever support. So I can look at the general channel and it says, hey, Rebecca asked a question. Or excuse me, you got a question. This is the question. It came from Joshua. This is the user. And then here's the description. I can chat with Joshua immediately and say, hey, it is, I would say, well, it could be crocheting or Legos. I'm going to say Legos because I know how to spell Legos. Boom, right? I can say Legos is their hobby. So I can't chat with myself. That's a challenge. So I'm going to do John Scott. But it would throw you into a chat with the user, but I'm the user that made it up. All right. So that's why it looks kind of interesting. But I'm going to go back here and you see I was able to immediately give an answer. But what does that look like when I want to update it? I'm not going to bring you through the whole rigmarole, but essentially, updating is very similar to what you saw, updating your knowledge base, making your bot smarter with that new query. It's just as simple as you saw in Power Virtual Agents. So I just clicked over to a new screen. This is something called Q&A Maker. It's kind of the back end of your bot right now. And so when we log into our Q&A Maker, one of our knowledge bases, right, is Jarvis. Or excuse me, specifically, this is Jarvis for the bot, right? Oh, here we go. Our knowledge base name is Jarvis. I can click into here. And don't pay attention to the clicks right now. Just kind of follow my cursor and kind of get the overall view. There's a million things you can learn, but I only want you to look at 5. If we look down here, you see questions on the left side, answers on the right, and there's a ton of them. It's just very easy to add a Q&A pair, right? If I add this Q&A pair, I can say, boom, what is Rebecca's favorite hobby? Just like Rebecca showed in Power Virtual Agents, I can add alternate phrasing. Rebecca's hobby, or Rebecca likes to do. I can add all those. And with Lewis, so Language Understanding Intelligence Services, this is an Azure Cognitive Service, really fancy word for saying cloud stuff, right? Or intelligent cloud services that make human interaction viable, right? It can put together anonymous phrasing, right? And say, this is not anonymous, analogous phrasing to say, this is a lot like hobby. What does she like to do, right? And it will come to terms that they're asking for this query. And we're going to say Legos, right? This updates every 15 minutes. So 15 minutes from now, our bot will be smarter once we hit the little publish button, okay? I'll save it and train it, top right-hand corner, and then I'll shift over, and publishing our bot is saying, now we're going to push this out and make it public. So, and if I want to test the bot, you can always test it with this little thing in the top right-hand corner. Oops. Let me do this real quick, right? Boom. And it'll pop back and it'll say Legos. Boom, right? So we made our bot smarter just that quick. We could add links and all the other stuff. I'm just going to publish this by clicking this button. And bada bing, bada boom, insert the magic sounds, our bot smarter. So let me just take a step back, guys, and kind of follow me here. How impactful would it be if you just imagine with me for a second, talking about your dream state, right? Remember current state and dream state. How impactful would it be if we were able to lift the help desk ask from your help desk, right? And have them do more proactive things to make your environment better and less reactive things just by offloading things to a bot? How many folks, by show of ones, have some of these scenarios where they have documents on documents that people reference as far as protocol or procedure that they would love to load into a bot? Frequently asked questions that they give way too many of. And even though you speak to it on all hands or something like that, people still ask, and maybe that could be directed to a bot. Procedures that are so routine, you could do them with your eyes closed, but you'd rather not, and you could offload that to a bot and take people down a decision tree. If you have any of those scenarios or anything of the like, throw one in the chat. I see David Bump put it there. Matt, I like your last name, Streeton. Matt put it there. Donna put it there, right? And I'm sure there's a bunch of us that have a ton of routine scenarios that we could just offload to bots. And go ahead.
Let me interject this real quick. So even from the end user perspective, if you're not even the help desk, imagine being able to ask a question and get an immediate response and not waiting an hour for the help desk to get back to you, right? Or I know like at Microsoft, right, I got about 200 websites, no joke, that I could go searching for information in. Instead of me having to know what site it's in, let me just ask one central bot who has all that information loaded up in it, right? So even from an end user perspective, it's a time saver, making us all more productive.
100%. And I love that. Thanks for the input. And so just keep that in mind. And today we showed a pretty flat, it's a pretty flat end user experience, but there also is a component of this where you do, and maybe we do that next time, you can take people down a decision tree. And especially if you look at PVA, right, what we're doing there, is this your problem? Well, if that's the case, then what specifically is going on? All right, for how long? And so you're gathering all this information, right? And you're taking people down their unique, tailored path. And it's much more like a conversation than just a call and response. That's easily buildable, I guess. It's not programming sort of thing. It's not techie. You kind of saw how we build those things in, but that's no problem too. So if you have more complex conversational scenarios, never fear. Microsoft's here. We got something for you. And with that, we're about 7 minutes ahead of time, and that puts us exactly where we need to be. So I want to pause for a second. One, thank you all for sticking around. This isn't always the most interesting stuff to kind of talk about or learn about, but I'm sure your agency appreciates you, and we appreciate your ears. So thank you guys for your patience. Two, if you got some sort of value and you see that there's some way that you may be able to leverage spots, maybe you're not sure, maybe there's still some gray spots, but you think there's some value here, put a V in the chat if there's some kind of value, right? Let me pull up this PowerPoint while we're on the way. Sweet. David Bump said there's a V. Sweet. Awesome. Melissa, some value there. Awesome. Let's go here. Perfecto. Patrick, what's going on? Oh, things from outside. Sweet. And there's more and more folks. And so real quick, guys, there's only a few things left with our time today. So one, complete the survey. Thank you guys for being here. The survey is going to be dropped into the chat here in a second. And by the way, thank you, Aaron, for answering all those questions I see in the chat. So it's going to be dropped here in the chat. But part of that survey is if you want us to follow up. And maybe it's not just bots. Maybe there's other things, Power Automate, Power Apps, some unique solution that's mission-oriented that you really want to get done. We got a lot of insight. We got amazing brainiacs here. Talk to us. We can help you out. Take that survey and let us know if you want to follow up. Two, begin thinking about how bots might change how you do business today and what challenges they can solve. And then three, tell a friend and come again, right? We do these things every single month, and we love to have you here. You're the reason why we do it. And so we really appreciate your attendance, right? So that's kind of all we got. The survey, I'm about to drop it in the chat. I also have it on as a QR. But if there's any Q&A that you want to drop, then now's the time you can actually come off of mute.
Hackathon. You need to bring up the hackathon.
Yes, for sure. And by the way, real quick, I just, I don't know if I can pin this. Can I pin this? I want to pin this, sweet. So the form is there. Take that survey. And then there's another thing that we have to talk about, a hackathon. So John, do you want to give an idea what the hackathon is really quickly as people swing questions in?
Yeah, so April 19th to the 21st in DC in person, we are having a hackathon. It's going to be kind of a smaller venue right now, so space is limited. But what we're really trying to drive is cross-agency collaboration, right? Because all of government has the same common challenges. So how do we work together? Unlike other industries where it's competitive, right? There's no compete between government agencies. How do we all work together and solve our problems, right? Using the Power Platform, because the other thing is there's a critical skill shortage, right? How do we use the Power Platform and empower citizen developers, the makers, right, to build apps? So if you guys are interested at all, please feel free to reach out. I put a link in the chat to learn more about it. And like I said, if you have any questions or anything else, feel free to reach out. And if you want us to talk to your managers, get you approval, let us know.
Yeah. Melissa, real quick, I'm typing something for you, but essentially this is a monthly event. It's not recurring in the way that it just pops up month over month. It may switch the date every once in a while, but it comes up. It's a Tuesday and Wednesday every time, but you do have to register for each and every one of these because it's an event. It's not a meeting, right? Even though it's not a Teams live event per se, right? So you have to, but there's a slot or a question in the survey where they ask, hey, do you want to be notified about future TAAG events? So keep that in mind.
And David posted the link in the chat as well for the PubSec blog.
Okay, for sure. I know there's 3 links being thrown at you too. Go at them at your own will. One thing I just want to make sure you guys do, if you want us to reach out, hit that form. Takes no time to do, and then attack those other 2 as well. But we just want to know who wants some help. And remember, it's free of charge. And with that, my compadres, am I missing something?
No, I think I'm good. John, Scott, John Untersher, Aaron.
Thank you guys all for joining. I actually have to drop for a call, but like I said, any questions, feel free to reach out.
For sure. Thank you guys. Thanks for the time. It's been awesome. With that, we'll stop the recording and we'll see you guys later.
Thanks, everybody.